Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. My name is George, and if this is your first time here or you have been here before but have not subscribed yet, please do so. Please do so. The season's about to start. We're in training camp right now. Lots of news, lots of things to report, and today I'm going to go over a couple of things. I'm going to talk about the Thibs' feelings about the Obi Randle pairing on the floor, playing them together. Going to discuss Cam Reddish's role. We're going to look at his interview, a little snippet of it, and we are going to look at the ESPN's predictions for the Eastern Conference. Some interesting things. All right, let's go to it. Again, my name is George, and subscribe to Twitter also. All right. Here we go. So, Obi in his interview, this is a tweet from Steve Popper. He wrote a good article summarizing Obi's feelings and everything, and basically Obi's happy. He's happy to be with the Knicks and prepared for a larger role. Wow. Well, the question is, how is he going to get that role? I've been racking my brain trying to figure out how to do it without playing Obi and Randle together for significant minutes. Significant, I mean by like about 6 to 8 minutes per game. It's going to be difficult. Very difficult. They just extended Mitch. And they brought in Hartenstein, who I love. I love him. So it's going to be tricky, but there is a possibility, and we're going to discuss that exactly how. Here, Popper tweets out, Toppin happy to be with Knicks and prepared for a larger role. Obi Toppin spent a month in the summer in Los Angeles refining his skills on offense and defense. And he was with Don McLean, who was I believe he used to play for the UCLA Bruins, who was an outstanding shooter. He was an amazing shooter, if I recall that correctly. And he said he trained with guys like Paul George, Karl Anthony Towns. I forgot who else he mentioned, but he looks ready. And I'm going to get into a few numbers. And first, we're going to go look at this interview with Thibs. This little portion here that SNY put out.
Talk about the Obi Randle pairing. And that the numbers didn't look good. They actually had a positive plus-minus net rating per 100 possessions. I wonder if you could give us some insight into the numbers you guys use that you look at.
Well, it's not only the numbers. I actually watch the games. So when you look at the games themselves and then you look at the numbers, the games that were meaningful, and I went game by game, so I watched the games and I looked at the numbers in each game. So, like, if you took out the games that were blowouts, and there were one or two in particular that probably threw those numbers off. But, and again, you can say, and I want to be careful because it was a very small sample size. So, you look at it, what do your eyes tell you in close, meaningful games when we tried it, what happened, right? And those were very negative. And so that's part of it. But, I'm hopeful that there's improvement and we can do better. So I think there were one or two games where, they were blowouts. So what really wasn't meaningful in those games.
Okay. So apart from his kind of snide remark there, I actually watch the games. One thing that Tommy Beer is the one who asked the question, actually. And he wrote a great summary of it, and you guys should check it out in his newsletter. One thing that Tommy pointed out was that what he was referring to is the Knicks allowed 111.6 points per 100 possessions with Randle on the floor last season. The Knicks allowed only 104.3 points, so 7.3 points less per 100 possessions with Randle on the bench. And on Thursday, Tom Thibodeau said he thought Randle's team defense was very good. Now, this whole thing about him trying to get Thibs to critique his players, he doesn't really do that. And Ian Begley actually put out an excellent article today also. The reporting and the coverage lately, not lately, it's always been outstanding. We're lucky as Knicks fans to get such great writers, reporters, and analysts working on this stuff for us. We really benefit tremendously from that. So you can see Thibs' attitude is like, well, we're talking about that was garbage time. All right, well, Thibs, didn't you ever read Malcolm Gladwell? 10,000 hours. You don't get great at something until you've spent 10,000 hours. Now, of course, that's just a number people have picked. The point is, it takes time to get things to work. This guy's talking about 100 possessions at the most? I tell you, man, he twists himself into these contorted points of view. And then, of course, he gives a caveat. Well, it's not enough of a sample size. He's actually trying to say, well, maybe it could work. But he shows zero enthusiasm for it. Zero. So what's going to happen? Are we going to have another season where Randle averages... What did he average here? Okay, this is what... Randle, in his first 2 seasons with Thibs, he averaged 37.6 minutes per game in his first season with Thibs. Now, that was his All-NBA season. 37.6 minutes. That was first in the entire NBA. Most minutes in the entire NBA. Last season, 35.3. Also, probably, I think it was 8th or something, in the top 10 for sure. There's no reason for somebody like Julius Randle to be playing that many minutes. There's just no reason. Before that, here, let's go look at, before that, he played, I don't think he averaged more than, okay, his first season with the Knicks, he averaged 32.5 minutes per game. Before that, with New Orleans, just 30 minutes a game. Lakers, 26.7, 28.8, 28.2. His rookie year, he only played 1 game in his rookie year. He broke, remember, he got hurt. So 28 minutes, 26. I think 28 minutes is the sweet spot there. So 28 minutes for Randle at the power forward spot, 20 minutes for Obi, okay, at the power forward spot when Randle's not on the floor. And if we can get a situation where 6 to 8 minutes of those are them sharing the court, eventually they are going to figure it out. We're talking about NBA players. We're talking about 2 guys that are outstanding physical beings. They're different. You know, it's Randle has more of a ferocity about his game, but Obi, man, the way Obi can slip between people and just jump over people is outstanding. And to just back that up also, just to show you guys, talking about a few more numbers here, in terms of their field goal percentages in certain areas on the floor. So Randle in 2020-21, within 0 to 3 feet from the basket, he averaged 66%. He made 66% of his shots in 2021. Last season, it dropped down to 62.7%. Now, compare that with Mr. Toppin. Mr. Toppin, 3 feet from the basket, 0 to 3 feet from the basket, he averaged 69.5%, almost 70% in his rookie year. But last year, he averaged 72.8%. 72.8%. He averaged 10% better. 10% better than Randle. And even when you stretch that out, 3 to 10 feet, Randle was at 36.8%. Obi was at 39.2%. Randle, 10 to 16 feet, was at 37.4%. Obi was at almost exactly 37.5%. 16 feet up to the three-point line, these are 2-point shots, Randle was 33.5%. 33.5%. And he took 15% of his shots there. Obi, 33.3%. So very similar. Very similar. But Obi, he shot 13% of his shots there. He shot the majority of his shots. He shot percentage of field goals attempts by distance within 3 feet to the basket. 50.5% of his shots were at the rim. Where Randle, only 25.4%. So this is what I've been talking about in terms of ease of getting buckets. Randle labors. Randle struggles. We're not even talking about the three-point shot right now. We're not even talking about that. Just getting a bucket it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time for Julius Randle to do it. For Obi, instantaneous. He does it within the flow of the offense. If he's cutting, he's looking for the ball. If he doesn't get the ball, he'll just keep moving to drag his defender out and find another floor space on the floor. The style that Obi plays is perfect for the modern NBA, but his three-point shot has to truly come around. Now it did. We saw it come around those last 5 games of the season, which was pretty outstanding. I actually put out a tweet today or yesterday. I was kind of annoyed at Steph Bondy, even though I love Bondy, but it annoyed me so much about this, all this stuff about, comparing him to, here we go. Comparing him to Frank Ntilikina, how the fan base falls in love with their own players and they irrationally won't let go of them. All right, I tweeted this out. I said, now I'm pissed as fuck. I'm pretty sure Frank never scored 40 in a game or averaged 27.2 points per game on 46.3% from the three-point line, 55.2% overall field goal percentage, and 86.4% free throw. Actually, Frank was a good free throw shooter over a 5-game stretch. Frank never averaged that over a 5-game stretch. 27.2 points. So the comp is ridiculous. It just don't even compare them. It's an insult to Obi in a lot of ways. And also, by the way, the guys ahead of Frank at the time, Elfrid Payton, Sessions, guys that are relevant. If we had played him earlier, but the thing with Frank, a lot of it was the injuries. He'd get some burn, get injured, and then that would derail his career. Which we may have a guy like that, a couple of guys on the team like that, which I'm becoming a little concerned about, but I'll get to that soon. The point here is that Tom Thibodeau doesn't seem to really be interested in unlocking Obi Toppin. He doesn't. And I wonder if it's something to do with Randle. I wonder if if Thibs can tell that Julius doesn't like to play with Obi on the floor. I don't know. I'm not saying he does or he doesn't. I'm wondering, because it just doesn't make sense that you can have a guy like Obi Toppin and just waste him on that second unit, especially when you have a guy who is struggling like Julius was last season. Now, if Julius can regain his three-point shot and some of his mid-range game a little bit and get somewhere between his career averages and his all-star year, great. Still, there is something called diminishing returns. The more minutes guys play, the more tired they get, the more mistakes they make. Turnovers go up, they labor on defense, or they don't even hustle on defense. Their legs aren't there. They can't make those shots, especially late in games. So this is why you keep a guy at around 28 minutes a game. It keeps him fresh, and it gets the other guy burned, and who knows what he could show us. We could be looking at it in February where we have 2 power forwards that are playing outstanding basketball, and that'll give us options and flexibility. I just wish Thibs would open himself up to something like that. Because look, Obi only averaged 11 minutes in his first year as a rookie. Now, he started off really slow. And it was an odd year with the pandemic and 2020, all that stuff. But last season, he averaged 17.1 minutes per game. Now, a lot of that, I think the average got pumped up because he did start those games towards the end of the season when Randle sat out. But still, 17 minutes a game, that's like bare minimum. Obi's got to be 20 minutes plus per game. No doubt. Especially when you look at his field goal percentage. His rookie year, he shot 56%. His field goal percentage. Randle, 51.6. Now the league average is 53.8. So Randle was below the league average in field goal percentage. We're talking about the All-NBA year, where Obi was above it. Now, you look at last season. Last season, the NBA average was 53.2%. Randle shot 45.9%. Obi shot 58.6%. So Obi shot 5.2% over the league average, and Randle shot 8.7% below. That is quite a swing right there. That's a 13 percentage point swing. Crazy. Now, true shooting. Let's look at true shooting. True shooting, league average 57.2% in the pandemic year. Randle was below that with 56.7%. That's that All-Star NBA year. He was still below. Obi was 57.4%. But last season, the true shooting. Obi's true shooting last season was 61.4%, where the league average is at 56.6. So we're talking about almost 5 percentage points higher than the league average. That's what Obi was doing. Randle, 50.9. Randle, wow. Randle was 5.7%. Wow. That just shows you. That's why we're so frustrated. I just don't believe that Thibs is going to change. I just don't see it. Now, if we go back here, let's look at, so this is in a New York Post article. I can't remember. It wasn't Thibs. I mean, it wasn't Berman. It could have been Zach. Here's on that subject. Knicks coach Tom Thibodeau was not particularly expansive. The players are gonna earn what they get, Thibodeau said. We have good depth. Earn what they get. I just showed you. I just told you the numbers. Told you the numbers of their actual performances, the comparisons. So there is no rationale that you can justify playing Randle 35, 36 minutes per game every night when you have an option like Obi. If you didn't have an Obi, okay, you keep sending Randle out. But when you have a guy like Obi, there's no excuses for playing him that many minutes. So that's the earning part. Because we're going to hold Thibs to this all. We have good depth. I can't tell you right now who's in the rotation, who's not in the rotation. That will be earned. And if someone's not in the rotation initially, doesn't mean they stay there. All right. We are going to hold you to that. Now, interesting below that, it says, it is, though, a unique spot for Reddish, a former 5-star recruit and top 10 pick out of Duke who averaged more than 20 minutes a game as a rotation mainstay in Atlanta during his first 2.5 seasons in the league. Let's look at what, before we get to that, here we go. Just to show this. I love this thing. I love this because he has those signs in the back, the defensive musts and offensive musts, and here he is, Thibs talking to his guy. Thibs is basically he's chained himself to Randle, and if Randle starts bricking, that's going to go overboard, and it's going to sink them both, sink the team, and sink Leon. I think it's a mistake to run a team that way, but that's the situation that we're in right now. I hope that the young guys so severely outperform expectations that it becomes almost impossible to keep them off the court. That's what I'm hoping. And I have a feeling that we're going to see that. I think we're going to see that from these young guys, from Obi, IQ, even Cam Reddish, who is struggling to try and figure out his role on this team, and so are we. We don't even know where Cam's going to get minutes at all. In fact, let's go to the Cam interview.
Man, I'm blessed. I'm in the NBA. I'm playing for the New York Knicks. I mean, I'm happy. I can't really stress that enough. But I mean, obviously everybody has tough times no matter what it is, or no matter what your job is, and it's all about how you respond to it and get through it. Me, I'm a believer in God, so man, I'm good. I'm all right.
Is it an adjustment mentally? Like, I'm sure you were the greatest player on your team growing up. You were whatever. Everything was almost a given, and now it's different. Now you have to fight for it.
Yeah.
And how much different is that aspect of playing ball?
I mean, I still got all my stuff, so that didn't go anywhere. It's just now I'm fighting for a spot. When I was in high school, I wasn't fighting for a spot, but I had game. I got game and just fighting for a spot, so it ain't no different. It's competition. Who doesn't love competition? I mean, I'm really not worried. I'm good.
I like what I'm hearing from him. He seems calm. I believe him. I believe that he feels that he's blessed to be in the NBA, and he's happy to be playing for the Knicks. He said, I can't really stress that enough. I believe him. And I got to tell you, I mean, I went back and watched some of his games. His good games, they were eye-opening. They were like phenomenal, especially that 34-point game he had against Orlando. And then he followed that up with a 33-point game against Chicago. I mean, he was starting to really show something. And I mean, he hit 8 of 13 from the 3-point line in the Chicago game. And he hit, this is when he was with Atlanta. This was when he was with Atlanta, before he was traded to the Knicks. And he hit 6 of 10 from the 3-point line against Orlando. Then when he came to the Knicks, and let's see here, came to the Knicks. Oh, where was that? Here we go. What was this? He scored 17 points. That's right. He only had 25 minutes, scored 17 points, 2 of 4 for a 3-point line, and then he got hurt, and he was done for the rest of the season. Injuries are the thing that's a concern with Cam Reddish. If he stays healthy and he comes and he balls out, let me tell you, he could really force Thibs his hand because he has all the physical tools to be dominant on the court. I think he's a much better defender than people give him credit for. I love the way he plays the passing lanes. He's always looking for the steal, the poke the ball out. And when he's out on the open floor, wow, it's something truly to behold and watch. And how he can just get from the 3-point line to the hoop with a couple of steps in blazing speed. We just don't really, I mean, RJ does it, just not as fast. He kind of has to throw in some little wiggle here and there, and he has to use his strength towards the end. Reddish kind of almost flies to the hoop. I am hoping that Cam can figure out that role on this team, but you know what? That role on this team is actually going to figure itself out if he comes and performs on the defensive end. He knows it. He knows it. So I have my fingers crossed on that. I really do. Let's get back to talking about... Oh, here. This is great. Tony Banks. Tony Banks tweeted this out. People keep acting like Thibs is this great coach. At New York Knicks fan. Over his last 6 seasons, his record is 175 and 183. Coach of the year 2 times. Okay. But seriously, where's the greatness? We keep viewing him with this reverence as if he's great. He played Burks at point last year. Yeah. Last 6 seasons, losing record. He's got to own that. That's who he is. Fired twice. And yet, we are all beholden to his rotation selections. Speaking of that, Stefan Bondi tweeted this out. Quentin Grimes was wearing a walking boot at practice today, as the sleuth Knicks fans uncovered through the team's video. He has a sore left foot and is considered, according to the Knicks, day-to-day. According to the Knicks, the team is being considered day-to-day. So you put that down there. Yeah, let's see this photo here. Here it is. That's Grimes' foot, and that's the boot. He didn't practice 2 days. I don't think he practiced today. I don't know. They haven't updated us on what is happening in terms of his foot, but it is a cause of concern. I hope that this thing doesn't really slow down the plans here, because we need him, especially with a guy like Brunson as your starting point guard who has the defensive deficiencies. And then if Fournier is not lighting it up, he's basically just wasting space on the court. So Fournier, if shooting lights out, of course Fournier stays on the court. If he's not shooting lights out, we got to bring Grimes in. And if Grimes is hurt, what are we going to do? So these are some of the concerns that I have. Now, this is the second injury. Grimes also got hurt last year. Remember, it ended his season as well. So he did ball out in Summer League, but I hope that this doesn't become a trend with him, where he's constantly getting hurt. We had to deal with that with Frank. That was a very difficult thing with him. All right, let's get to the ESPN predictions. Knicks and this is was posted on Reddit. Shout out to Top Lettuce 33956. Appreciate you for posting this. Kevin Pelton of ESPN senior writer has released his predictions based on a combination of his Shoney player predictions for box score stats as well as 3-year luck adjusted, regularized, adjusted for factors. Wrap 'em from NBA shot charts. He says he estimates game played based on those missed over the past 3 years, then makes predictions for playing time. The result is expected wins based on average health luck. His Eastern Conference standings are, number 1, Boston with a 53.9 wins, so basically 54 wins. Bucks, number 2, with 49.5 wins, which seems low to me. Philly, 48.3 wins. Toronto is 4th. 47.4 wins. Atlanta with 46.2 wins. I think that's a big overestimation. I think Atlanta is going to be a 41-41 team at best. You're hearing that here first. Actually, I don't know. I don't know what people are saying as far as that's concerned. In terms of number 6, now this I found surprising. Miami, 45.9 wins. Brooklyn at 7 with 45.6 wins. Cleveland, 8th with 42.9 wins. It's interesting that Cleveland is really not as high as people were thinking, especially after acquiring Donovan Mitchell. Then we've got the Knicks at 9th with 41.5 wins. Charlotte, 10th, 40.8 wins. Washington, 40 wins. Chicago, 38.1 wins. Indiana, 38 wins. Orlando, 30.6 wins. And Detroit, last with 25.7 wins. Honestly, I think these kind of seem a little off, to be honest. And I don't think Detroit is going to be as bad as people think. Orlando's going to be interesting. They'll probably still win with just 30 games, 32 games maybe. Chicago is going to struggle. Chicago's going to struggle mightily, especially, and if they get off to a bad start, you could see them try to get off some of these contracts that they have. DeMar DeRozan, Booch. I could see them even packaging them. Who knows? Maybe LA, Lakers. Be interesting. Charlotte, Miles Bridges, gone. I think they're going to struggle as well. And I said about Atlanta, I think the Nets are going to be better than this. I'm thinking the Nets are going to be better than this. However, you can never tell with them. With a Kyrie on their team, they could totally implode. But let me see. Let's get to the next thing here. Interesting that he has Cleveland just above the Knicks, is what Lettuce wrote. He writes, in part, Cleveland's projection suffers from the team's massive leap in the standings last season because player projections perform best based on 3 years of data. Darius Garland's poor rookie campaign still drags on his record after 2 seasons of rapid improvement. Additionally, Donovan Mitchell has a bottom 10 defensive rating in terms of defensive RAPM, helping explain why his addition doesn't have the expected impact on the Cavaliers' projected record. Now, remember I talked about that in terms of when we were pursuing Donovan, like how much would this really help the team and everything. I kept saying it's going to be difficult to tell because with Brunson also being new, they're going to have to figure that out. It might take some time, and that could impact the overall win total. So here, he's not talking about in terms of that, but he's talking about in terms of Donovan's defensive deficiencies. Here, about the Knicks, he writes, the Knicks are atop a crowded pack of contenders for spots in the play-in tournament after adding Jalen Brunson in free agency. Additionally, New York should benefit from the pull of regression following a dramatic defensive decline in Tom Thibodeau's second season at the helm. Sounds like D. Mitch wouldn't have moved the Knicks much positivity in his model either, then, since one of the reasons he predicts a rebound in the Knicks' defensive numbers. About Chicago, which is well below what some are predicting, he writes, despite starting 2021-22 atop the East at a 26-10 record before a second-half slide, once Lonzo Ball went down, and we don't know when he's going to be back. That's going to hurt them. I don't think they're going to be a 500 team. That stems in large part from the Bulls minus 0.4 point differential, which would typically translate to 40 wins instead of the 46 games Chicago actually won. The Bulls were even worse in Lonzo Ball's absence, performing 1.5 points lower than the average after accounting for opponent and location, with Ball's return knee surgery. So there you go. It looks like the Knicks are going to be right there for the play-in. I haven't put out my prediction yet exactly how many wins, but I will say this. I believe 42 wins is possible. It's actually, I think it's kind of low. I think if all goes well, never does it? But if the young guys on this team are as good as we all believe they are, and RJ makes that leap, and I think Cleveland's going to win more games than they have here anyway. So I think Cleveland's going to be around 47, around what they have Toronto predicted. And I think Atlanta's going to be around 41 wins. So there's a lot of extra games there that the Knicks can pick up against, because, we play against these guys a lot. I think the Knicks could be right there with 45 wins. But don't write that down. Don't write that down yet. The East is tough. The East is stacked. So stacked. Man. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching this. And if I'm going to be changing the format of the show at some point, I'll announce it. And going to revamp the background a little bit. See, I added the Julius and RJ cover there. Gonna be, give me a little refresh. It's due. We're due here, especially for the new season. And overall, I feel frustrated because I'm not hearing the type of things I'd like to hear from Thibs. He's basically pushing back on everything that we want. Which is, play the young guys, share the court, Obi, start Grimes. He's pushing back on all that stuff, so it's going to be difficult. I hope that if the team does get off to a bad start, which is possible because the early schedule's rough, that Leon's ready to step in and make a move. Johnny Bryant is waiting. All right, thank you guys for watching this. Please drop your comments. I want to hear your feelings about all this. And subscribe, turn on notification bell, and I will see you around the Knicks-Verse.